This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. Text us on 81215. Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio. Email the show via the Absolute Radio website. Hey.
Morning.
We're in quite a Christmassy sort of end of term vibe today, I think.
Yeah, well,
aren't
I've
we?
got a chocolate Santa on my desk.
Yeah.
Which it raises the spirits. Yeah, he's belled up.
Yeah.
He's belled up.
Don't make it sound like he's sort of a mobman out for a hit. He's tooled up.
You thought the bell would have had a upsurge this year, what with the pandemic and stuff.
For social distancing reasons.
I think in the plague, people used to ring a bell and shout unclean, didn't
Yeah.
they? Yeah. Oh, well, there might still be time to bring that back as we face the Christmas of doom, ladies and gentlemen. Here's a question for you. I think we'd all agree, wouldn't we, that one of the worst things that's happened in the 21st century is a great upsurge of people taking themselves too seriously.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
I think I've identified the moment that began.
Oh, go on.
Oh.
I think it was when joggers started calling themselves runners because they felt the word jogger wasn't taking them seriously enough, not really showing the effort and the work that they were putting in, and they were reading magazines about running and strapping themselves up quite expertly, and it was jogging, it's a bit dismissive, okay? I think
That's good.
if anyone's got any other theories about when the urge began,
I think the 118 men have a lot to answer for. Do you remember them?
Oh, yes.
The ad campaign, they looked a bit like the late Bobby Ball, didn't they?
Well, they were based on the British runner David Bedford.
Oh, were they?
Yeah, exactly. They were an exact copy of him, which was a brilliant, surrealist idea.
Yes.
To take a real person and then double him and put him in an advert. I mean, brilliant.
Yeah. But I suppose it was the fact that they had all the gear. I think that made people think, oh yeah, it's a sport. They see themselves as proper sportsmen.
Wasn't it a white vest and plimsolls? Is that what they were rocking?
It's not just sport where they take themselves too seriously, although there's a fabulous advert for David Beckham's new fragrance.
Has he got a new fragrance?
Oh, he's got a new fragrance. I don't know how many fragrances has he had.
Do you know, I've lost count. He's got so many in the range.
He's a fragrance fest.
And I saw an ad for his whiskey as well. No, is it a whiskey he does?
Oh, he's doing whiskey as well.
Haig, is that whiskey, bourbon? Something like that.
Some booze,
what an interesting role model he is for young people. Especially, as he says...
Prohibition for Frank.
In his new fragrance ad, where he's now reached the stage, which I think is perhaps some form of a reverse pinnacle, where they are subtitling him even though he's speaking in English.
Oh dear.
It's always a bad moment. And he says, for me, there is no right or wrong.
Oh.
Okay, thanks for that, David.
I mean, he's not a headmaster, is he?
No, but I mean, somebody should have said, I wouldn't say the right or wrong thing, Dave.
Yeah.
He goes on, he clarifies.
Is he discussing postmodernism? Is that what...
I think he feels that morality is a subjective thing and shouldn't be subject to any overriding structure.
Right.
Yes, he said that to me once.
I think I heard him. I think after. He said it in a post-match after. I think it was Luton away in a cup game.
Frank, can you imagine if someone did say that? I would love it.
Anyway, what he says, and this is what I don't get, he says, for me there is no right or wrong, and then he says, there is only right by you.
Ah.
Now, I'm not. What does that mean?
That means I'm all right, Jack. I do what I want.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but it's I don't like the structure of it. There is only right by you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not true, is it? What about if it's right by me to grab people by the buttocks really hard? Does that make it right good? Let's find out. I'll be back in an hour. I'm today Frank Skinner, roving reporter. Imagine if I just went out to Golden Square now looking for buttocks
As long as you start outside of the studio, I'm okay with it.
Oh yeah, I think you don't squeeze buttocks on your own doorstep. I think that's the old
It's a good
saying.
rule.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
Frank St. Bart has tweeted us
Oh yeah.
saying, I found a verruca on my foot this morning. Thought of you, Frank.
Okay.
Why was that? There was a story you told.
I don't know. I've never had a verruca.
Haven't you?
No, we told a
interesting.
verruca story though, I feel.
I've had a couple in my life.
I might well have told a
I'm not
verruca
bragging.
story.
Yes.
I've seen verrucas.
Never had a cold sore.
Never had a cold sore.
I'm
no?
enjoying this link.
No. What have you never? No.
No, that would be a good text.
What have you never had?
Yeah.
I don't think that would be a very good texting, would it?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, you like stuff like,
And Neil Smith says from last week's show, best celebrity weight loss, Tom Hanks for Castaway. He took 18 months to look right for the part.
Did he really? Seems
There
a
you go.
long time.
Yeah, that's a
18
bloke who thought you've got to lose a stone, and he said, "Right, call me back in 18 months."
Yeah.
That's a sensible guy.
Yeah.
They even let the air out the basketball.
Yeah.
Everyone had to be thin in that show.
When Ewan McGregor lost a lot of weight for Train Spotting, he said in an interview, somebody said, "How did you lose the weight?" And he said, "I grilled everything I ate
Yes.
and drank vodka." Instead of anything else, like he just drank vodka, I think.
And where's he from? Ewan McGregor?
In Scotland.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
of course. I
You suggesting that was a lot of fried food that was now being grilled instead?
well, you never. If they were grilling Mars bars, people wouldn't be so sniffy about it, would they?
You might be right.
So
And sorry, Frank, just to say, Rob, on the
Mars
subject
barbecue, you could call it.
It's good.
Yeah.
on the subject of the 118 man, Rob says, "Morning, Frank, Emily, and Alan. Me and my buddies went to a 70s music weekend at Butlins about 15 years ago, all dressed as the 118 man.
Yes,
Best fancy dress we ever wore."
poor David Bedford has been completely forgotten in this now. It's the 118 man has taken it over.
I must admit, I didn't realise that it was based on Beddo.
Well, David Bedford's his running style was he would go like half a mile ahead of the field, and then you'd see whether they could catch him up or not.
Oh,
He had
right.
No sense of pacing or anything. He'd just fly off. And there was a diagram I remember in one of the Sunday papers, and it was a drawing of him running up stairs. And it says that David Bedford has to run up 72 stairs to get his heartbeat to the same as the average heartbeat of the normal human being.
Excellent.
Come on.
He'd
See?
be all right in a multi-storey home, like a Victorian conversion.
Well, lighthouse, he should have. Yeah. That's what he does now. He's a lighthouse keeper. It's brilliant. I had a guy called Tim. Tim and Jason, in fact, they've written a comic called Pogs in Space,
Oh.
which I'm soaking up at the moment, as is my 8-year-old child. It's
That's
about
brilliant.
pogs in astronaut
Where?
roles.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, it was the way it was addressed, which I like, and it's got a printed up Royal Mail label on it,
Oh, yes.
Excellent.
and it says Frank Skinner, Alan Cochrane's with a apostrophe S, Emily Dean. So it looks like Alan Cochrane's Emily Dean,
Yes.
like Bruce's The Price is Right.
Yes.
It's got that kind of feel to it.
I have no objection to the sense of ownership.
No,
over me.
good.
It's
Surprising.
It's a lot. I had no idea that you were Alan Cochrane. They've also spelt your name without the E in a sort of Eddie Cochrane style.
Yeah.
I'm in a sort of Rod Holes emu
My name
mode
is.
here.
My name is.
My name
All
is...
right, Eminem.
My name is full of potential spelling mistakes.
No, well, he
isn't
got
it?
Alan with a U, to
Oh,
be
that's
fair,
good.
which is one of my favourite videos. It's the only fresh air I get nowadays. Yes.
Nasher has pointed out on the subject of taking oneself too seriously, he feels the education system has a lot to answer for. Woodwork and metalwork are now called resistant materials, and
Are
cooking
they?
is home economics.
Yeah, that is probably right.
Good point, well made.
There wasn't one boy doing the cookery class when I was at school. And now I imagine there's loads.
Mm.
That's progress, isn't it?
Yeah.
They still do the cookery class. We called it home economics.
Yeah, what do they
Remember
still
that?
do? But, yeah.
What
we
about
was-
when I did needlework? Oh, come on.
Oh, I'd love that. I met a woman down our road, an old lady.
How dare you?
A posh old lady. It was very lovely. There's some very interesting old people live near me. I'm hoping to grow
Some in
into
this
that
studio.
community. And she had all these interesting jobs, and I said, what do you do now? She said, I embroider political banners. I thought, wow! What if only What's My Line was still on.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Daryl has got in touch with us, Frank.
Dazzo! I'm just making up nicknames for people now. Sorry.
I think the start of people taking themselves too seriously began when Marathon changed its name to Snickers. Also, what do you think of that?
That might be right.
Yes. Also a running theme, so maybe it's linked to your thought about joggers.
Ah.
What do you think about that?
What was Marathon up to? Was it like Andy Cole saying, no, it's Andrew from now on, I'm
Yes.
a serious figure?
I think it'll be some tedious legal thing where they'll find out there's a chocolate bar in Latvia called Marathon instead of
Yes.
had to change
Or that
it.
they'd stolen it from a Greek run.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, someone was looking through their Greek textbook and thought, hold on,
Yeah.
thought they'd made this up. You'd think it would have gone the other way because
Yeah.
Snickers is the joggers of joggers and runners, and Marathon is the runners. It should have been Snickers, and people said, "Oh no." But I suppose you don't. Chocolate bar. Do you want it to be taken seriously?
I never
Good point.
warmed to Snickers. There was something slightly sinister about it. It was a bit like what Hitler might have called his other dog, Snickers.
Yeah, maybe you're right. But then again, as David Beckham says, there is no right or wrong,
You're right.
which apparently is his standby excuse in pub quizzes.
And in his personal life.
So we were talking in that break about West Bromwich Albion's new manager, Big Sam.
Well, I didn't know whether to mention it.
Oh no,
I just didn't know.
I was
No.
sad
It
to
was
see.
breaking
I was
news
sad
for
to
me.
see our previous one go, who I loved. But you got to love Big Sam.
Yeah.
Well, he's a colourful character.
He wears his heart on his sleeve.
Yeah, he does.
Big
And the
presence.
thing is, well, big face. And I think when you've got a big face, your emotions are always out there. You know what I mean? It's
And
very
also,
hard
there's no
to
crowd
hide.
now, so there's more room at grounds for a big face, isn't
And
there?
you know
Yeah.
what, Al? I like a manager who still wears the ostentatious gold jewellery. There's not enough
Yeah.
of that in my book. They're all too
But
stylish.
does he? Or do we think he does?
I've seen a picture. I
question.
do have. There's a giant watch, Frank.
There's a great
I
clip
think
of...
they all have to have a giant watch now, don't they? That's
Yeah,
part
there's-
of the thing.
I noticed Mourinho wears a particularly big watch.
Of course he does. He's
No, but it's like
Mourinho.
a sort of a
Is it a
Knights
clock?
of the Round Table type. What enormous thing. Yeah, it's I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm quite excited about Large Samuel.
Oh, yeah.
It's there's a great clip of him. Have you ever seen that clip of him when there's a bloke dives, a player dives right in front of him,
Yeah.
and he gets up looking all hurt and upset, and Sam's going, really laughing like a bit too loudly, about 4 feet from his face. Oh man! And he's from Dudley, and that's what counts.
Oh, there you
Yeah.
go.
So yes,
Local hero.
excited about it. Yeah, he used to play for the Albion.
Great.
Have you seen this from Kev Mills?
No?
Morning, Frank, Al, and the giggly one, he calls me.
Okay.
For me, everything became more serious when supermarkets called an egg and bacon flan quiche. We suddenly became all French overnight. Duvet's another example. It's an eider down, for God's sake. Merry Christmas, that's Millsy and Chandler's Ford. Just for you, Millsy.
Well, on the pronunciation front, there was that thing where footballers, their names were always anglicised when they came here.
Mm-hmm.
I remember
yeah.
Jimmy Hill going on about Eric Cantona. And then suddenly we started saying things like Thierry Henry. I think he was the turning point. People felt
Yeah.
they should say
Yes.
Henry instead of Henry.
Instead of Terry.
Yeah. Terry Henry would have been
Yeah.
if he'd arrived 2
Tell.
seasons earlier.
Tell.
Okay, so we will find it. We'll find that turning
Yeah, I think
point.
we'll pinpoint it.
But
Probably
there's been
today.
some great suggestions so far. Tremendous work, guys.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
By the way, don't forget this morning's texting. Best original questions for Guess Who.
Oh, that's good.
I've been playing Guess Who this week.
Have you?
And
how's it going?
I don't know if I told you, when I first started playing with my son, he was only like 2. And one of his first questions was, do they look kind?
Oh, yeah.
And I said, that's 2. You got to be more specific than that.
What a marvellous question. Then.
Yeah. Do they look askance? So I was quite pleased with this week with my visible tongue inquiry.
Have they got a visible tongue?
Oh, yeah, have they got a visible tongue?
Excellent.
It's a great
But you don't just
question.
want to go male, female, dog, cat, whichever
Cat.
version you're playing.
No.
I'm
Beard.
trying to find some cleverer ways of getting
Do they have an air of insouciance?
that might be
Sort of.
too much, yeah. I'll say he's 8.
Do they
It's a
look
bit
capable of
subjective as well.
original thought on a regular basis?
Well, I'd love to come up with some stuff though. 'Cause when you play the one with human beings, if your first question is are they male, you've wiped out half the board straight off. Come on.
Do they appear to have a hinterland?
I'll tell you something as well. There's a major design error in Guess Who. It's
What's
that?
that?
If you tip it one way, the doors open on one side, and if you tip it on the other, they all close and the other ones open.
Oh, shut up.
Rubbish. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Sort it
what you mean.
out, Guess Who?
Listen, I
Yeah.
went to a Punch and Judy show
Again?
this week.
I don't.
Do you go to one every year?
I go
Is this
to-
a ritual
If
for
there's
you?
one around, I go. I love them. Absolutely love them.
How do you even hear about them? I haven't. I mean, I don't think I've ever
I've
heard.
got Punch and Judy alerts.
Thing is, I believe this.
There's one now. This guy used the Swazzle as well.
The Swazzle.
Beg your pardon?
You know the Swazzle in
No, I don't.
Oh.
I'm a
well,
woman
you
of the
can
world.
you can do
Is this
punch.
daytime radio?
Oh, it's all right. You can do
Swazzle,
Punch.
wow.
You can do Mr. Punch the way I do him. Naughty, naughty, naughty. That's all I knew it. You can do it like that, but that's not authentic.
Oh, okay.
The real Mr. Punch.
God forbid.
You have a thing, and it's like a little device that you have in your mouth, and it makes it sound really. The voice comes really weird.
A Swazzle.
And it's a Swazzle.
How does it sound then?
I might get one.
Well, I can't do it without the Swazzle, but it's a more sort of unearthly version of. That's all I knew it.
Is it
okay.
like a kazoo, the
yeah,
Swazzle?
like a miniature.
It's got a sort of when people have had their voice sort of electronically treated.
Oh, it's like an
Yeah.
it's like an early auto tune.
Yeah, a bit like.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a gummy bear. I'm a gummy bear. Oh, I'm a yummy, gummy, 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 gummy bear.
If you can imagine that, but if it was produced by Samuel Beckett,
Yeah.
that's what the voice changes. Sounds changes any words. Just that's an anagram of a fine sentence. So it really makes him sound weird. And this guy was doing the proper Swazzle thing. I could see when he spoke to the kids. I saw him. I thought he was chewing at first, and then I thought he's got a Swazzle. Here we go.
Wow.
And sure enough, very exciting.
You must be like, you know, when at the snooker at the Crucible and they applaud like a really
yeah.
subtle safety shot.
Exactly.
You must be like that fan, but for Punch and Judy.
Yeah. I was. I once.
Got a couple of purists in tonight.
Well, I know there's a thing amongst Punch and Judy men. It's one of the first things they ask.
Thing
is,
amongst Punch and Judy men. What's going on?
One of the first things they ask is, do you do the hanging? Because traditionally he was hanged at the end, and now they've tended to phase that out for the small ones.
Oh, that's nice. That's
No.
considerate.
Yeah, it was.
Hang 'em, I say.
I find
Yeah.
It's only a puppet, isn't it?
He's a vicious individual. He's
Yeah.
normally.
Well, I was going to say, Frank, I find the themes very distressing.
Oh, I don't know about that.
And
If there's one thing
I just
I
find
love.
him very unattractive, Mr. Punch, visually.
There's one thing.
If there's one thing I love, and this is a regular news story, it's crocodile in a domestic setting. Man in council flat with crocodile in Bath. That story that comes up now and again. I mean, it's one of my all-time faves.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
We're trying to establish the turning point when people, I think we're all agreed, we had a big vote on this, that one of the problems of the 21st century is people taking themselves too seriously. We're trying to establish the turning point.
Well, our readers have come up with some answers to this. Mr. Butler suggests...
Oh, God, not Mr. Butler.
Mr. Butler?
Mr. Butler was a money lender that used to come to our house when I was a kid. We was all terrified of him.
Oh, Frank.
Whatever got missed. The gas might have got missed. We'd rather have that turned off than not pay Mr. Butler. He had a menace about him.
Easy to forget that you grew up in a Dickens novel until you start talking about money lenders and
You
stuff.
say it's easy to forget.
You're
Obviously
terrified.
not for you, but for us.
Mr. Butler. Whoa.
Well, Mr. Butler might be...
I hope he's not him. He's probably dead now.
No. Is it that Mr. Butler might be a relative of Ask Jeeves? He
Maybe.
says... When George Michael grew his goatee, nothing was the same again after that moment.
Yeah, I know what he means, though. I know what he means.
Martin...
What about that moment when films became film?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm
yeah.
interested in film. You're not interested in film. You're not interested in that celluloid stuff. You like films.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Martin P45...
Oh, yeah.
I hope everything's all right, Martin.
Yeah. Oh, I've got some terrible news, by the way, on the retail front, but carry on.
Okay. Martin P45 says when sign writers were called in to add the word artisan above every shop that made something.
Oh, yeah.
I'm with you
What
on
about
that.
artisan bread?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Artisan pies. Oh, come on. Matt McGillivray, when comic books became graphic novels.
That could
I
be
think
it.
that's a really good
That
one.
really could be it.
And Mark says when darts was called a sport.
I think that's a long time ago.
No.
Why did we start taking comics seriously, though? When I was a kid, there was no...
Yeah.
Well, I love comics.
Yeah, but you don't...
I still read them now, but I still think I wasn't one of those people who carried on reading them into adult. I stopped when I
Yeah.
grew up, and then I've gone back to them when I found out it was all right. But I still think of them like a child. I don't really want to know who did the inking
Right.
on that thing.
Yeah.
But we're all different, for goodness sake. Anyway, I've got some terrible news.
What's happened?
For the
There's been a
retail.
lot- there's been a lot of businesses gone to the wall recently.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Difficult times.
It is. It's bad. But the big shoe shop has closed at the bottom of our road, which we've spoken of so
Shut
many
up.
times.
Well,
I was
do you
just
wanna
going to
remind-
get Big Sam Allardyce's Christmas present.
We should remind, if anyone's not heard this, Frank has...
I can't remember what it's called now. Was it
It's an
Nautilus or something like that? It was called.
It's an outsized...
Outside shoe shop at the bottom of my road. Massive shoes. You may have guessed that
Yeah.
that's what they sold from the previous preamble. But it's always... I've never been in because I find it one of the most frightening shops. The idea of people with enormous feet only
And
going
because
in
every
there.
time you walk in, you hear the man saying, fee, fi, fum, fum.
And also, if I walked in, I know they'd look straight at my feet
Yeah.
and you'd feel, so inadequate.
Small, yeah.
But tragically, it's gone.
That's a
Oh,
shame.
no.
It is.
That's,
I mean, maybe there just isn't a long-term business in having a shop that scares people.
Maybe.
Or one that
I
only
suppose.
caters for...
I suppose so. What am I going to get Big Sam now?
Oh, what about Greg Davis?
I like to think that inside Big Sam there's a Dr. Bruce Banner who's doing all the clever managing stuff that he's not given credit for.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. You can text the show on 81215. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio and email the show via the Absolute Radio website. I've got to tell you, the readers have been on top form today with their contributions.
Yes.
One of the main themes, we haven't had any original questions for Guess Who. You know, some of them textings do fall on stony ground.
Yeah.
But we take ourselves too seriously in the 21st century. When was the turning point when that began? There's been some great responses to that.
Louise Grant, when people's lives became journeys.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Lorna,
I'm glad to hear
sorry.
that it's not just me that finds most of society overwhelmingly mawkish these days.
Lorna, when top tips became life hacks,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And-
it's true, that.
Paul, Doctor, when TV series became seasons.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
Doctor!
Darcy also says,
seasons.
is it when pop musicians started calling themselves artists?
Oh, yeah, that's a biggie.
Isn't
Yeah.
it? Isn't it
That
just?
is a biggie, the artist thing. You're not artists, you're musicians. It's all right.
You play the guitar.
Yeah,
Get over yourself.
Calm down. Anyway, we all do it.
And Nate,
Poetry podcast.
Theatre of Chips, as he calls himself. I like Theatre of
yeah, that
Chips.
sounds good.
I've never heard my kids so loudly in the car as 5 seconds ago when you played Gummy Bear.
Well,
Now
the
they're
reason-
singing it. Thank you, Frank.
I'll tell you
this
what.
long drive will fly by now.
We had a bit of. I'll play an extended version for him in a minute. We had a bit of bad news this week about we were going to go away for Christmas, and then due to various, there was tears before bedtime. Unfortunately, ours was 3.
Right.
So we can't. It turns out we can't go to the house we're going to go to, despite the Christmas armistice. So I had to tell my 8-year-old, and he said, "Oh no." I said, "Look, we'll still have a lovely Christmas." And he said, "Oh, it's okay." And he put the Gummy Bear song on. He said, "If I feel a bit sad, I put." This is it. And I thought,
When I
you
find
know what?
myself in times of trouble.
And I thought, you know what? It's working for me as well.
Yeah.
It was, come on. Everybody, if there's any bad news you've had this day, I honestly recommend that you try this. I think it's medicinal. I know music is very soothing and special, but who'd have thought this would be an example?
Speaking words of wisdom, Gummy Bear.
Also, on the subject of the Gummy Bear song, I believe this is tangentially linked to why you brought it up. Frank, apparently you're not a proper Punch and Judy man until you've swallowed at least one Swazzle.
Oh, really? But are you then condemned forever
That's from
to
Gary
speak like
Chatterton.
Mr. Punch? Oh, I bet I hadn't thought of that. It's got to
they
be.
must occasionally.
Because when he spoke to the kids, like halfway through, I could see him moving it about in his mouth, trying to. Yeah. Wow.
We have another entry, by the way. Producers gesticulating. Okay, I'm with you. We have another entry for taking oneself too seriously, the moment at which it happened. 297, when tasting food became that works instead of just that's nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't think I even noticed
They
that.
do it
I
on
don't think
MasterChef and
it
programs
has to
like
reach that.
Yep, that works. Yep.
Oh, you might want to ask why it hasn't reached your house.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's because nothing worked.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
So, I was talking about Punch and... I should have said, by the way, in the Punch and Judy show I saw, he didn't hit his baby with a stick or his wife or any of that. That bit, that's been removed. from the,
Political
the
correctness gone mad, isn't it?
The problem, the only problem I'd say with it is that he still gets, like, the police still arrive and all that. And you sort of think, well, he hasn't really done that much. He's only had an argument with that bloke.
Yeah.
And it feels like he's the victim of some totalitarian state.
What? Oh, I see. But why does the crocodile get involved then? Does he...
Because there's a bloke who lives in the next council flat who keeps one in his bath. And it comes as a punishment. The devil turned up at the end, so all that was it. Anyway,
Maybe they could just make it that the police arrive because they're too close to each other and not wearing masks. So it sort of fits.
God, you know,
now.
that wasn't referred to at all in the whole
Right.
thing.
Right.
It's a lovely return to normal with
Bit of
Punch and
escapism.
Judy.
To be fair, at least it's the innocent days pre-nose job with Punch.
Oh,
Yeah.
They didn't go for rhinoplasty.
How long does the show last? How much?
I'd say it was
Bit long.
25 minutes.
Right.
You know, this is for little kids as well as like, me.
Big kids.
Yeah. To be honest, David Mitchell was there as well, and we were laughing, I would say, more than any of the children.
Right.
involved. It was fab.
What does that tell you?
Anyway, here's what I want to ask. The Swazzle that I was talking about, the device. Do you remember there was a little flat semicircular thing you used to put in your mouth to simulate bird song?
Yes.
What happened to those babies and what were they called?
It's a very good question.
I mean, they were really good if you could
I would like to know what they were called.
Did you ever manage it?
No, I've never tried one, but I've seen
I
them.
actually, with a lot of effort, they used to be in crackers and things. You might get one this year.
Men
guys.
sold them on the street, didn't they?
Men sold them on the street.
Men sold them on
different
the
times.
street.
Yeah. Bird song gadget.
Not on my street, dear.
Yeah, you might have grown up in a more exclusive
There used to
area.
be one. Remember, it was like a bird whistle that
Excuse me,
used
would
to.
you like a bird?
There was one.
Never
It was-
happened to me, Al.
Really? not when you was watching wrestling at Thimble Mill Baths. Anyway, there used to be another thing, and it was a whistle. You used to put water in it. Remember that? And blow it, and that used to simulate bird
Oh, I
warbling.
don't remember that one.
You
Okay,
two and your
if anyone
bird
knows.
gadgets.
One last question.
Oh, yeah.
Dog whistles. Do
Yeah.
they actually work?
Yeah, I believe they do.
Have you ever seen one in the flesh?
I've seen one, but I've not used one.
No, I've heard of the concept, but I've never actually seen a dog responding to something I couldn't hear.
Oh, do you think it's like the TV licence detector?
I don't
I
know.
do see my dog
It's
do that all
another
the
major
time.
myth.
But have you got a dog whistle?
No, but what happens is he will cock his head and he'll suddenly look alarmed. Sometimes when he's sleeping with me, yes, he's on the bed. Sorry, Frank.
Oh,
Okay. Well, you know.
we're all different.
Let's not go into, that, because as far as I'm concerned, it's not the most unhygienic thing that ever happens in a bedroom is a dog's presence. Thank you very much. Good day.
That's a fair point. Well made.
However, I sometimes see him getting alarmed and waking up, and then a couple of minutes later, a couple of seconds later, then I'll hear a car alarm or something will happen. It's like he's tuned into
Psychic
it.
dog. Wow. What about when I cat sat for a guy? He said, you can stay at my house for a week. This was when I was in a bedsit, so I was beside myself. I had a whole house. He got this cat. I thought, fair enough. Every now and again, this cat, was it a cat or a dog? Anyway, I think it was a cat, would stop and stare at nothing, but really stare for about a minute and then walk away. I became convinced he could see demons and stuff, spirits in the house that I
That's the
couldn't
most
see.
logical thing.
That,
to
well, that's,
think.
exactly, that was my first. That was my base camp one theory.
Yeah.
It really freaked me.
Yeah.
In the end, I wouldn't let it in.
God.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
I'd like to bring to your attention a news story about the fashion brand Gucci,
I know them.
who've, me too, they've been roundly mocked this week because they've brought out some sunglasses. I don't think it's that they've brought them out this week in December, which is weird. That's a weird time to release a sunglasses range, I guess. But the mockery has been...
Not for Gucci. The people, don't they wear sunglasses the whole year round?
And also, I suppose there's a lead time, isn't there, for the fashion industry to get it out there that, hey, you could have these sunglasses for next summer. I guess that's why they release them now. Anyway, they're upside down. Not Gucci, the actual sunglasses. They look like upside down glasses. So, I mean, I don't know how to describe it any better than that.
Well, I mean,
Well,
we've
you
all
know.
done it. If you put glasses... I mean, the ones I saw weren't actually sunglasses. They were just glasses. That
Were they?
upside down, yeah. And,
Disappointing for me. Whole article, not one mention of Dennis Taylor.
well, funnily, when I read it, the comment... It had all this Twitter... You know, when people just now, you can think... Well, I can't write an article of my own, so I'll
Yeah.
quote from Twitter.
It's very odd, that, isn't it?
And what I'll do, I'll write what they said, and then I'll have the tweets also in photographic form.
Yeah.
Just to fill. We've got to fill it up. It's a big paper.
Yeah.
Anyway, they did that, and there was a lot of Dennis Taylor
Yes.
references
Yeah.
in the
They
one
referenced
I
that
saw.
a lot.
But I think they kind of got it. There was a misunderstanding because Dennis Taylor, in case you don't know, was a snooker player who wore these spectacles, who were much higher at the top, and Dennis Taylor, so he could get his chin on the bays and still see the whole table because you'd be looking upwards.
Yes.
But the glasses, these Gucci glasses, they sort of droop downwards.
Yes, they do.
So I'd say they wouldn't be good for snook. I'd say air hockey would be. You get that like a broader view of that which lies beneath you.
Yeah.
Can I speak up in defence of Alessandro Michele, the creative director of Gucci? Yes, this is Absolute Radio, and you are listening to Frank Skinner.
Pal of yours?
No. However, I think, look, I just want to present the case for the defence. Would you be happy with that?
Sure.
I'm going to be honest with you. You don't have to do this with me. I like them.
Yeah.
Am I preaching to the choir?
Well, I'll tell you what, though, before you... And I'm interested to hear this.
Yes.
But there is the model that I saw wearing them was a beautiful woman. And I remember there was an optician's down our road, bottom of our road in Albury when I was a kid. And... in those days, glasses was the thing that nobody wanted. If you had to wear glasses, you were an outcast.
Yeah.
Really?
Basically. If kids at school found out they had to wear glasses,
it was before Geek Chic and
it was
nerds
well
were being
before.
cool.
One of the
and
people
before
I
Geek
hold
Chic.
responsible for that crossover was Jo Guest, the former glamour model,
Oh, yeah.
who she started with the specs very early. Do you remember, Frank?
I think they were protective. But anyway, they used to have pictures they had like a display case at this optician's, and they had pictures of Brigitte Bardot and Sophia Loren wearing spectacles and saying, this is see, spectacles can look good.
Yeah.
And you think they could have a dead lizard draped across their face and you'd still think, wow, she looks amazing. And this model, she's, as you say, being a model,
Yes.
beautiful woman, and so I like them.
Wow.
And also they're what I would call zany. There isn't enough of that in the world where we take ourselves too seriously.
Frank Skinner.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
No, sorry, Victoria. Victoria Jenner, following on from the spelling of Alan's name, I posted a gift for Emily by special delivery to arrive at Absolute today. Royal Mail have said they've had a request not to deliver to your address today. Gutted. And I spelt everyone. So thank you for your gifts, Victoria. I'm sure we'll receive them in the new year.
I've had a request not to deliver. What kind of a request is that?
I don't
Could
understand
somebody
it.
please look into this? And if anyone from Royal Mail is listening, what the hell is going on?
I'm going to do that next time I have a bad gig. Sorry about that. I had a request not to deliver. So I followed that up. What does it mean, though? Whoever said, if there's any nice presents for me, can you not bring them?
Yeah.
I like the way you're saying this, like number 2 in The Prisoner saying, why did you resign?
It is a bit like that, though. Sorry, we were talking about upside-down spectacles, and you were about to make a technical point. Emily, RM, I don't know if you know this, used to work in the fashion industry, so she's got many insights that we don't.
All I would say, and I know these stories, we've all had a laugh, haven't we?
Yeah.
But I know we find it amusing. Why are they wearing this on the runway?
Yeah.
What I would say, I think it's helpful to explain the method behind the madness, the apparent madness.
Yeah.
The designer, so Alessandro Michele, would view those glasses, he would view that to a degree as what we call unwearable fashion.
There's unwearable fashion.
Yes, bear with. He's not really expecting punters to run out and buy and wear. He's not expecting Alan Cochrane to walk into Specsavers and say, "Hello, can I have some of the upside down cat's eye sunglasses,
And I'll have
please?"
a pair of normal ones as well to go to, belt
I mean,
and
I hope
braces.
that doesn't happen.
No.
Well, I wouldn't mind a pair, because I've got a pair. That Richard Gere had those things when he hung from the ceiling, American Gigolo. I've got one of those at home.
Oh, yeah.
And it'd be quite handy for upside-down
you have.
spectacles whilst watching the television.
He would see this as the equivalent of the concept car. It's sort of a showcase for his themes, his brand. And he wouldn't... I'm not saying... I mean, somebody might buy them. Bit strange if you do.
I did wonder if actually they get more headlines for putting stuff like this on a catwalk than if they just put somebody walking down in a nice jumper.
In
and then
beige
everyone goes, oh, that's
Microsoft
nice,
sacks.
isn't
Yes, I mean it's a little like the Lady Gaga meat dress. That's how you have to think of it.
it?
Okay.
Apparently that went off, didn't it?
Well, it would eventually.
Yeah.
It's very hard.
I think she got up the next day and ate it.
I don't know how many shelves you've got, but hanging that in the fridge would be a complete.
Well, we
nightmare.
have a walk-in chilled wardrobe.
Do you? Lovely.
Like a butcher's meat fridge
That'll
in many ways.
keep the moths down.
But what it means is that those glasses, we will all be wearing versions of them in 5 years' time.
But we won't look like Bridget Bardot or Sophia Loren. Let's
You
face
will,
it.
Frank.
I don't think I will. I have to face that. These are women who would look good in those "is this better or this" glasses that you get at eye tests. We can't judge. Well, as you know, I used to watch fashion TV when it was on.
You loved fashion
I was
TV.
mesmerised by it. And I watched a 1 hour documentary about, what's it called? Haute couture.
Yeah.
And all these women doing intricate stitches on things.
Hot food.
Yeah.
No, that's hot cuisine.
Yeah, it's about McDonald's. I just brought that up as a
You see,
a digression.
that's why they have pret-a-porter, because that means ready to wear.
Oh.
Ready to wear means wearable fashion. Couture is unwearable. It's fantasy world.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I've had
Next
shoes.
week,
I've had shoes like that.
Frank Skinner. Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
Here's a question then, Em, as our fashion correspondent. Do
Sometimes
people
it's hard.
still wear those clip-on shades that you put onto normal glasses?
Like over aviator type things.
are you referring to React-Lite Rapids?
No.
Oh.
Reactolite Rapids
Really good.
are the ones that
knowledge.
used to. They would dim in sunlight. I don't like those. You see old people in those. I always think that's a mistake.
Yeah.
But I'm on about.
I know.
They're like just the shades, and they clip onto normal glasses, and you can flick them up
Yeah.
or pull them down depending on.
I'm not sure if they quite come under the umbrella of fashion, more sort of joke shop, but I'm
Or pragmatic.
I think they were a serious.
Were they?
I think they were.
I'm familiar with the items.
That's one of the rare
you refer to.
reversals of a thing that people took seriously, and now they consider it to be a joke.
Yes, I know what you mean. I think that possibly they had the sort of M in James Bond vibe, like sort
Yeah.
of high tech appeal, didn't they? I do remember them, Frank, but I haven't seen them for several decades.
Well, if anyone's got any, I'd wear them.
Yeah, I would.
Very
if I-
handy
If I
with-
wore glasses, but as a
Yeah,
non-glasses
you don't
wearer,
want to be wedging them in your folds in your eye. What's your folds called?
Well, my epicanthic folds.
Yeah, you don't want to be wedging them in your epicanthics.
Your Nordic epicanthics.
Heaven forfend.
Frank, a brief.
Pince nez. What happened to the pince nez? I told you I was watching a WB
Is that how you
Yates.
say it?
Yes.
Is it?
What would you say, pince nez?
I've only ever read it, so I always say pince nez, but in my head.
Do you know
in my
what? When it
voice.
comes to language decisions, I go with Frank.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a lot less to
I don't
go
mean
wrong.
as opposed to you. I don't want to fall out.
that's
Oh,
fine.
no, he's really upset.
No, I'm okay.
Pince nez. When did we start taking ourselves? When we started calling pince nez, pince nez.
Frank,
But you know that clip on? They're the ones that clip on the nose.
they're very much associated with.
WB Yates. And you
Yeah.
have a lanyard. You had a lanyard on them. It's a great idea. But I'm thinking, if you want to moor your spectacles,
Yeah.
the nose is a lot nearer than the ear, so it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't, all the things that go wrong with your stems, you have to sellotape them on and wear them like that.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean, Em?
I think I'd be that guy if I did wear glasses. I'd definitely be the guy with sellotape on the side.
Well, I mean, the screws are too small. You have to have a special screwdriver.
Do you?
People take them into the opticians to get a screw put in.
Yeah.
Forget
My
about
wife recently.
My
said-
wife.
My wife. Take her.
Comedy's changed. My wife recently saw some glasses in a shop that she liked, mentioned it to a friend who said, "Oh, so and so works in the optician thing. He might be able to get you them cheap." And then, like 2 or 3 weeks later, gets a call, he's got your glasses. Not he's got you a price for your glasses, just he's got your glasses.
Oh,
And I said, do you know how much they're going to be? And she said, no.
Oh, first question now.
Exactly.
First out the door, Frank.
£120 without a
That's
conversation of like, oh, you say that's cheap, but we don't know, do we?
does that include the lenses as well, or just the frames?
I think maybe the lenses were in there, yeah.
You
Is
see,
that good?
I don't know how he's put the lenses in if she hasn't even been in there. You see, one of those, like Albert Pierpoint, not the old hangman.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely Christmas reference.
He could shake someone's hand and
Goodness
estimate
sake.
their weight within a couple of pounds
That'd
either
be
way.
very useful for judo or Brazilian jiu-jitsu to know that,
as
just
it
from a
was
handshake.
for execution.
Yeah.
Season's greetings, everyone.
So maybe an optician can look at your eyes and think, oh, -125, -175,
Wow.
and you're in.
Yeah.
If there's any opticians, let us into your
Or
secrets.
hangmen.
Or hangmen. Very few hangmen listening is my guess. I don't know, unless they're working in some sort of... anyway. Punch and Judy, maybe.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
Yeah, this is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. Text us on 81215. People have. Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio. They've done that as well. And email the show via the Absolute Radio website. Don't know.
Steve Stew has been in touch.
Steve Stew?
Yeah.
Both of them.
Where did Frank on the Radio actually live? Hashtag Smethwick, hashtag West Brom, or hashtag Oldbury?
Well, I was born in West Bromwich at what was then Hallam Hospital.
David Copperfield, The Adventures of.
Yeah, and I lived on the Oldbury-Smethwick border. So literally, I was in Oldbury, but I could hit Smethwick with a stone thrown from my garden.
Okay.
I tried it.
So the answer it's simply
It's yes to all of those, I
okay.
guess.
Oh. Well, I hope that's cleared it up for you, Steve.
I also have an update to bring. I messaged my wife and said, when your glasses were £120, was that with lenses? And she's replied, yes, but trade. Glasses cost nothing to make. One of the big rip-offs, she says.
I'm very interested in the big rip-off. I mean,
Well, me too.
CDs were always cited as one of the most massive profit margins.
My son
Really?
found a CD in our car the other day, and he went, $8.99. You paid $8.99 for a CD.
Did you know what a
Yeah.
CD was?
Yeah, we listen to CDs in the car quite a bit.
I know
But he was
someone who
appalled that
said
it was £9.
who said that who thought that buying a bin was a rip-off. He said, I mean, I'm not buying a bin, that's a rip-off.
Yeah.
Why is that a rip-off?
If I lived
I
alone,
don't think it's a rip-off, but it is one of those sadnesses when you know, when you like move out and you're sort of becoming a grown-up. It feels really grown-up to buy bin bags or something.
Yes,
And you're like,
yeah.
oh God, I'm spending my money on bleach and stuff.
yeah, but
I love buying
I
bleach.
wouldn't bother with a bin. I'd just have a bin bag and put the stuff in. I started doing that.
Yeah.
And Kat said, no, we've got to get a bin.
Did she say, you're doing all right?
I know, but what does a bin do exactly? I'm going to take it out and put it in a
Receptacle.
bin. Yeah, but a bin line is the receptacle.
Yeah, but
it
it's a
stops it-
connecting straight with your
You don't want it to
cabinets.
ooze.
You don't want it to ooze onto
Like-
your
like-
woodwork.
No, so
Like
I wouldn't
breed that's
fill
been
it
out
to
for-
oozing. Obviously.
We've also
Terrible.
had from Darren Crook.
Okay.
I hope you're not operating at this time of year, Darren. When did people start taking life too seriously? He submitted when Jockey Wilson stopped drinking a pint between each throw of his dart.
Oh, yeah.
That's there's less when they stop smoking and drinking in snooker as well in the mid thing. Yeah.
Well,
yeah, right. And also that thing, when a player used to get injured in a football match, the other players would all lie on the floor until it was sorted up. They'd just be players lying all over the place. They'd never do that now. They all go and have a drink of water. Nobody had they just lay on the floor.
And Millie Martin, it
It's
was
a good name.
great name.
Yeah.
I think it was when we all stopped having problems and started having issues.
Oh, Millie.
Good point.
I wonder if her name is Millicent, because Millicent Martin was quite a famous satirical singer in the 60s.
She was, yeah.
Joe Ward has emailed, yesterday I purchased a small notepad for my 6-year-old son for the bargain price of 59 pence. It was designed to look like a handheld game console. It had on the front, it sounds like a bargain, had on the front of it what I would have called a hologram that looked like a little computer screen. In the corner was a sticker that said, quote, with lenticular moving parts. Absolute madness. I had to have a sit down to really process the enormity of it.
What on earth does that mean?
Yeah.
It's just taking itself too seriously, isn't it? Just put hologram on there. You don't need to say
Oh, is
with
that what it
lenticular
means?
moving parts.
Well, I bought a pack of 2 notebooks from
Big wow.
from Poundland. Guess how much?
Pound.
Correct. Brilliant.
Do you know what I hate?
And
You
look,
gave me a little steer there, though.
That I paused quite a long time before working out the answer.
and there was a sticker on it that said "ideal for making notes." Absolutely marvellous. I had another. We're going to, but I got. Let me get this right. I got 8 Papermate pens in a pack.
And a
From
partridge in a
Poundland.
pear tree.
Guess how much?
Not a pound.
A pound.
A pound, that's a good
That's
bargain
2
as
out
well.
of 2 on Al. He's on a roll.
I find this link very depressing.
If people still did this, I would go do 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 do. You got 2 right. What happened to that? That died out.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
On the subject of the great rip-offs, I'm not a consumer of these, but women's haircuts seem to be up there, don't they?
Yeah, isn't they even called haircuts? Are they?
Really expensive.
Okay.
And it's, it's the same scissors, isn't it?
What do you
It's
what
not-
do you pay for a haircut, Al?
I do it myself
here we
with
go.
clippers. Nothing.
Here we go. Now we're going to come to me, aren't we? What do you pay?
No, that's
I
your
mean,
business.
my wife literally will not tell me how much her haircut costs. So, it must be expensive.
Yeah, I think
I ask every day.
there is some
About every
sort of,
hour,
that's
actually.
one of the equality things that hasn't really been
No.
looked at. The fact that women are charged more for a haircut than a man.
Yeah, you'd never know
Outrageous.
the difference to look
Outrageous,
at us,
sisters.
would you?
No, but see, you've been led to believe that.
I know.
But does it take longer to cut a
I
woman's hair?
suspect my hair takes a little longer than yours, with the greatest respect.
I bet not that much. Not as
With
much.
the absolute greatest respect
If
to
we
you
broke-
and the Turkish barber.
But if we broke down the proportional pricing, I bet yours would still come out as you're being taken advantage of for being female.
I think you're both right. I think this is one of those rare occasions where 2 people can both be right when seeming to disagree.
Okay.
There you go.
Lovely. Thank you. Nice.
Having said that, I'm very glad. I like the way that you.
Seem to be with the ombudsman. Do you work with the Conciliation Service
Hey,
ACAS?
I
Kath.
think I should.
I like that you take your son to the salon, Frank, with you, because I feel you'll start. You was saying recently, I think you.
Well, he had his first haircut.
He had his first haircut.
He's 8.
And I think it was lovely that you took him to your hairdresser, and it all felt quite a sort of regular experience. And as I think I may have mentioned to you before, my first time I had my first haircut, my mother said, right, we're going to Sir Laurence Olivier's hairdresser. And I didn't want to look like Sir Laurence Olivier as an 8-year-old child.
No.
I mean, it was fine. It worked out fine. But that's Turkish barber's the way to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, he invented the Purdy cut in Henry V. So
I look more like him in The Entertainer, but anyway.
I told you, didn't I? I met a bloke who worked he was an assistant to Mr. Teasy Weezy Raymond,
Oh, yes.
who was a celebrity hairdresser when I was a small boy.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I bet you must have had some fascinating people in the salon. He said, yeah, we did have some interest. I said, who was the most interesting? He said, Salvador Dali. What? He comes in for a haircut. I mean, what do you say about that? Imagine that elephant in the room, that moustache.
Yes.
Sticking out 18 inches on either side. Do you say, shall I just take the edge off the...
No.
I like this. Who's the person you can least imagine having a haircut? Because that is up there for me, Frank. Darley.
Duncan
come on.
Goodhue.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you talk to Salvador Dali about while you were cutting his hair?
I don't know.
Would it be, you see the match last night, Sal?
I don't think you call him Sal.
Been busy. Where are you going on your holidays?
I like people calling him Sal.
Yeah, I think it'd be all right.
Sounds smethik.
What if he just said, well, they played 9-minute stoppage time, but the clock melted.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Frank, you were talking about Poundland earlier.
They are really, really good for stationery, can I tell you that?
For things that
Great
are about
for
a quid,
things.
if you've got a quid spare.
I bought a pack of
Thanks
four
for that
highlighters.
top
How
tier,
much?
pal.
Thank you.
4 highlighters, how much?
I thought you said 4 light.
A pound.
No, £3. What? I don't understand.
Hang on, had you gone in a different shop?
No,
Had you gone in
it's just
£3 land?
Poundland.
If you ever wanted to commission a show called How Much, with Frank saying, I went into Poundland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would try and sue that show on grounds it's my catchphrase.
As far as your wife's concerned, it is.
Exactly.
Well, there was some shocking news, actually, about Poundland. Am I saying it the right way? Poundland. Poundland.
Or are you thinking it should be Poundland?
Yeah.
It's up to you.
Okay.
You Poundland.
Poundland. Is it like Greek?
If it was like an MP's name, he'd be like Derek Poundland
Yeah.
MP, wouldn't
Is
he?
it like Newfoundland or is it Poundland?
Or is it like Disneyland?
I think it's
Quite.
Poundland.
Okay, funnily enough, I'm going to take your steer on this, Al.
Did you say Newfoundland?
Oh, Newfoundland.
Yeah.
Would you say Newfoundland?
Newfound.
If it was if they refurbished, they could call it New Poundland.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. I
Anyway.
like the idea of Poundland.
Okay, let's
They've
go
been
with
in a bit
Poundland.
of trouble, haven't they? They've had some bad press.
Poor Poundland.
How can Poundland have bad press?
Well,
They've got these festive tills. And it's a nice little gesture. They've set up a sort of a special recording of Santa himself, and the recording is activated. The problem is the festive recording is activated when your card is rejected. And I've heard it. Have you heard it? They have Santa saying, "Card declined."
insensitive.
Well, he's jolly. He's jolly by nature.
He
Yeah.
says, "Is it on the naughty list? I'm checking it once."
I'll tell you what he does. It's a very... There's a
looked up.
skill. There's a skill in musicals
Yeah.
of that moment when dialogue becomes song.
Oh, yeah.
And he does that quite well. What he says, he says he's going. He says, "I'm checking it twice," and then he suddenly goes, "I'm going to find out who's naughty or nice," and it's a very nice transition from.
Yeah.
Right.
I like the idea of people who get involved in credit card fraud are either naughty or nice. It's a
Yeah, it's
a
quite
lovely
binary,
And
isn't it?
indeed, people struggling financially.
It doesn't at all fit in with David Beckham's view that there's no right or wrong.
People were up in arms, though, because, I mean, a lot of people
Yeah.
have said, "Thanks a lot, Poundland."
For shaming us.
New Poundland.
Well, it's also the idea
They
that...
could have called it quid pro quo. They could have called that the shop there.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking it could have been worse. It could have said unafforded item in the bagging area. Like that would
I'd
be
have been
really
so-
shaming, wouldn't
yeah.
it?
Surely
Exactly.
one of the things, the benefits of the self-service till is that you can experience the humiliation, let's
Yeah.
not beat around the bush, the mulberry bush, of the rejected card in privacy.
Yeah. Bit of discretion.
And they're turning it into a public moment.
I've always thought humiliation is great cardiovascular.
We know about that, as the people in your basement said.
I've had a fair
We
bit.
know about that, mate.
I've had a fair bit of humiliation in my life and various things. And
ballet link.
It's
Ballet
yeah.
link.
Yeah.
What else?
Ballet link, the Brits.
The Brits was terrible.
Yeah, that barmaid in Wigan. And
There was another TV one you did, Frank, that was bad.
Oh, there's plenty.
But you're...
You know what I mean? You keep throwing it at the wall, doesn't all stick.
Good point.
But I think it's a strengthening experience.
Yeah.
Humiliation.
Yeah. Oh, it's
I wouldn't.
Good for you.
You know what? You've done all right by it, mate.
And also, if people were sniggering at me in Poundland, I think I'd be inclined to turn to the queue and say, "Hey,
Glass houses.
we're all in Poundland
Yeah,
before
yeah.
you get on your high horse." It's a great leveller.
But some of us are looking at the stars.
Yeah, exactly. But don't come here pointing the finger at me. We're all in this together, guys.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
297 has said, Salvador Dali football chat. Would he support Real Madrid?
Goodness me.
Surreal Madrid.
I get it.
Oh, you get it. You're just
See,
saying,
there-
goodness me.
There is a point of, the turning point when we started taking ourselves too serious.
Yeah.
It was always Real Madrid when I was a kid, and
Yeah.
it's suddenly
Oh,
become
yeah.
Real
Yeah.
Madrid. Good point. Good point.
We're in Poundland at the moment. and-
Poundland.
Not together. This is, theoretically. It's not an anecdote, is it?
No. But Frank just made a very good point that those in Poundland anyway should not be judging.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Let he who is in Poundland cast the first stone.
Yeah.
How much is that stone going to set you back?
Pound, unless it's in a pack of 4 with the highlighters. £3.
Is everything a pound then?
No, the high pack of 4 highlighters was
stop.
£3.
We've all
And
had
some
a
things are
thing.
£2 for £1, and some things are £4 for £1.
But it's really good honestly for stationery.
stationery,
I'd
yeah.
recommend it.
Are you one of those people that
Absolutely.
love stationery shops?
I love stationery.
But then you go
generally.
to the cheap place around the corner instead?
Well, because I go into Ryman's
Interesting.
and think I can't justify spending.
You go into Ryman's 1983.
He goes into Ryman's window shopping, and then he goes into Poundland and
Ow.
gets the same stuff
Yeah.
cheaper.
Al, is Ryman still going?
I
Yes,
believe
there's
so,
one,
yeah.
there's one I go in regularly.
Are you
I'm
sure, Frank?
Absolutely
Yeah, I think so.
certain.
Okay, I thought
I got my 2021 journal from there only last week.
Oh, I'm just going to use this year's.
You haven't
still
been
got some
anywhere.
pages free in that one.
But people talk about humiliation. I mean, it's their card being rejected. That could be. That might not be because you don't have any money.
Could be a
in your thing.
technical glitch.
Could be also. I was going out once with a French woman half my age, and we went into a
Shows you
restaurant.
in a good light.
Legend.
We went into,
Legend.
Oh, make me feel ill. You make me feel ill.
we went into a restaurant, and I suddenly went to sneeze. I took my handkerchief out, and as I pulled it out, a Vic inhaler and a suppository landed on the floor.
Oh, dear.
Now, don't talk to me about humiliation. And she laughed hysterically, like in a
Yeah.
very that French kind. Oh man, it was so
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah.
I had a quite bad one. My Oyster card fell out of my wallet. No shame in having an Oyster card.
No.
No,
But I was on a private jet.
Oh.
When I-
that's all right, though, isn't it?
Well, I thought it was, but the other people, I don't
I
know
went
what
to
they made.
Nobu, which is a very posh restaurant in London, and I think I was with Michael McIntyre, and when they came for the thing, I said, "Can I pay for the oysters with this?"
Yeah.
And got out my Oyster card. I
very
thought
good.
and they said, I don't know if we I don't know what he's. I don't.
Oh,
Come on,
what
mate.
A shame.
Where else am I going to use this gag? Come on. No, I don't need free. Mate! No, but I don't think. Ow. Anyway, I was pleased with myself, but gone.
You've got a few other options, Frank.
Gone, never called me mother.
You could do it with a Boots card at a shoe store.
Oh, that's a good idea. Except
could-
it's shut. Shoe shop.
Yeah, but oyster card, it was so perfect.
Yeah.
Look at
I
a
know,
dozen
fine.
oysters.
I know, but you've got to move on, sweetheart.
Yeah, don't let it get you down for the rest of the Christmas season.
It's like when I went out with a woman in Birmingham who lived in some flats, which at the time were quite rough flats, called Bath Court. And I said, the problem with Bath Court is the residents spend rather more time in the latter than they do in the former. And she said to me, where's the latter? And I thought that you and I can never be a couple.
Frank Skinner.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
I have to tell you, my partner Kath and her sister Rachel do a podcast called "I Wish I Was an Only Child," and the next one, which is up on, it's up next Friday, which is that Christmas Day or Boxing Day?
It is Christmas Day, I believe.
They've got a Christmas special.
What we did a Christmas special in which I and my brother-in-law, Rachel's husband, Jack Thorne, who's the writer guy, who done his Dark Materials and
everything good,
everything, Harry Potter stage play, etc. We interview our partners about their relation. Me and Jack interview them. Now imagine that. You know they say never teach your partner to drive.
Yeah,
it's got that kind of tension in the air.
It sounds tense.
It was. I mean,
it sounds like my most favourite thing I've ever heard in my whole life.
Well,
and
it's
I haven't
one of
heard
these
it yet.
when you get a laugh about saying something about your partner and then thinking, I'll enjoy this laugh now because it may well be pain and anguish later down the line.
So this is on Christmas Day?
It goes up on, I think there's, they've got a regular thing. I think it's Peter Seravanovich this week.
Oh, yeah.
But what I'm saying is, just listen to me, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's my general plug.
And we should have you mentioned the name of the podcast, right?
It's called I Wish I Was an Only Child.
Mm-hmm.
And it's available where you get your podcasts. That's what you say if you're trying to...
Thanks very much.
Good.
But I did, it was sprung on me. Can you do it can you do a podcast for us lunchtime? And you can't say no. So anyway, it was really something.
All right. Do you know what? That's made my Christmas the prospect of that. I actually can't wait.
Let's talk about that in 2021, shall we?
I've never done anything quite like it before, I think it's fair to say.
We've had a text in which I think contains, occasionally this show tipped us into being good consumer advice. Poundland is best for kitchen sponges. About 20 multicoloured with scourers for your £1. Silly money in the supermarket for a pack of only 4.
It's true. I mean,
useful though.
There's some brilliant stuff in Poundland. I'm not kidding you.
Oh, here we go again.
Yeah, there really is. I'll tell you what. I thought I like a laugh.
Yeah.
American Vice President Mike Pence.
Yes.
He missed a real opportunity.
Grandpa Lego hair.
He missed a real... He looks like Colonel White as well from Captain Scarlet. Mm-hmm. Anyway, he missed a classic op. If I was having a big... If they asked me if I'd get vaccinated as a high-profile sort of person, to do it, which they did with him this week. He was vaccinated live on telly and all that. Yeah. I would have done that whole thing of having the vaccination and then fallen down behind the table, coming up with like false teeth in and like Jekyll and Hyde. You've got to do that, Mike. You'll never get that chance again, you fool.
He might have been asked not to after that nurse fainted when she got it. Anyway.
Maybe. Oh, Pence. He'll look back on that and think, my one regret is I didn't do the Jekyll and Hyde
he won't,
thing.
Frank. You would have.
He will.
He won't.
I don't think he's got where he got because he was drawn to comedy.
No, he had a bit part in Batman Lego Movie.
Yeah.
He was great in that, wasn't he?
Yeah, he played Steve Martin. Lego Steve Martin, he was very good. I got crazy feet. Okay. So look, the next time we've got our greatest hit shows coming up over Christmas, which is the best of the year.
Yeah.
Which it's not like this. If you listen to this and thought, I'm not listening to this again, the greatest hits, they have a consistency which is alarming. It's the best bits.
Oh, I'm always pleasantly surprised when I hear it.
Yeah.
So try that, and I say you have a bonus. You can listen to me on my partner's podcast from Christmas
can I mention mine, please? Thank you. I've got my Christmas specials out on Monday. Walking the dog, Jamie Cullum, Piano Man.
Oh, I was hoping the Christmas special, it would be a dog sled.
Yes. I tried Santa. Problem with availability. Story of my life.
Very busy. So look, if the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we will be back again, in greatest hits form this time next week. And you know what? Have a lovely Christmas.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.